Welcome to the Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and today we are outside to talk about Big Book Summer. So, we all know I love big books, and I am so excited I found this summer-long readathon. I will link the announcement videos for this year down below, and I'm going to break this up into timestamps. I will tell you the majority of this pile is historical fiction. Not all of it, but the majority of it. And not a big surprise. There's some nonfiction, there's some contemporary, science fiction, fantasy. So, it's a little bit of everything, just like I normally read. And these are all physical. I didn't go exploring on my Kindle. I have books that qualify on my Audible, and I will talk about those when I do my first Audible audiobook series, which is starting this month. And I talk about that in the June tag, so I will reference that down below. And I am just thrilled about this. And this is by no means a significant portion of the big books on my shelf. It's just the big books on my shelf that are currently screaming my name. I have read one of these, but it deserves its place to be mentioned. All the rest I've either started, I am reading in June, or I very much want to read no matter how packed my, normal reading plans are. So, okay, without further ado, let's talk about the books. First up would be the only nonfiction on this list. Wasn't the only available nonfiction on my shelf, but it's the one I grabbed, and it's my buddy read with Lindsay, and that is A Distant Mirror by Barbara Tuchman. This is the turbulent history of the 14th century. I am not going to talk about this in a lot of detail. I have talked about the majority of these books in different videos, so I will link the appropriate videos in the description box. And I'm so excited. And if you hear mowers in the background, it is Saturday in Texas. Men are out mowing. My gardener will be here Monday after, having to cancel due to rain. Okay. And that was it for nonfiction. So now it's contemporary fiction. And the first of these only makes it as contemporary fiction because next year it rolls over to a classic, and that is Trinity by Leon Uris. And this is my bind-up copy from International Collectors Library. I got this from my library bookshop. It cost me $15 for a deckled-edged, perfect edition hardback. And I will talk about this one on my audiobook video later this month, but in hardback form, this one is 751 pages. And the Barbara Tuchman book was like 650 without the index and bibliography, so they're both very well suited. Next up would be Mary Kay Andrews' book, that is Save the Date. And this has been on my TBR a couple of times so far this year. I am in the mood for a beach read, as we all know, and this one is probably one of the shortest books on this list at 435 pages. It's definitely beach read material. It's definitely high on the list. It's been sitting on my shelf for a while. It's perfect. Okay. Um, historical fiction. Let's do historical fiction. So let's do the ones that are currently in the process of being read. First up would be Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. This is my hardback copy. It's out of its dust jacket because, well, I don't like the dust jacket. I also don't like the quality of this book, as won't be a surprise to anyone. The bind up, not the writing. This is a very, very poor quality paper. Like it's such poor quality paper, you can see through the pages. And this one comes in at 1,037 pages. This is technically a reread for me. I read this many moons ago. I have read the first chapter so far, and I just didn't have room mentally or time-wise in May, but I am picking this up specifically today, which is the 31st of May. After I film this video, I'm going to go read a couple chapters in Gone with the Wind. Margaret Mitchell, her writing is beautiful, and she can set a scene so well. Okay, next up would be Lilac Girls by Martha Hall Kelly. Book lover Amanda and Lauren over at Intuitive Reading. Buddy read this in May. They both loved it. It's World War II fiction, which is not my favorite by any stretch of the imagination. But they said this one I would enjoy. I trust both of them, so I'm giving it a go. And this one, without the author's note, comes in at 476 pages. And I'm looking forward to this. It's the first in the trilogy. So if I like this one, I will pick up the rest of the trilogy. Okay. And the next two are, well, the next one I have started. I'm not very far. How far am I? I am 20 pages into it. That is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. Russian lit. Obviously, it's a classic. Obviously, it's right up my alley. I'm taking my time with it. You know, Tolstoy, he's best not rushed. And Anna Karenina in this bind up comes in at, without the notes, 817 pages. So, you know, only 800 pages to go. Surely I can just sit down and do that, right? Okay, next up is sort of a cheat, but it is all in one volume, and that is Kirsten Lansdottir by Sigrid Undstedt. This is the bind-up of all three books, which is The Wreath, The Wife, and the Cross. And this is classic Catholic historical fiction. It is in this format, 1,124 pages without the notes. And again, this is another one I am taking slowly, but, you know, I'm not going to rush my way through it. I've heard it's amazing and excellent, but not something you want to rush through. And I can understand that. So there is no huge push for me to finish this summer. I finish it when I finish it, and I am okay with that. I truly am. I would rather take my time with a classic than rush through it for the sake of rushing through it. And the second book in the trilogy is right on the nose, 400 pages. So that works, but the whole bind-up is large enough, so it's one I'm taking my time with. Okay, so these are all ones I desperately want to read. I just need to start weaving them in. First up would be The First Man in Rome by Colleen McCullough. This is the first book in the, what is the title of this series? Is it in the front of the book? Because it's not on the side. Of course it's not on the title. I will put the title right here. This was published the first time in 1991. It is part of the Read My Life challenge I have set for myself. I do like the fact that there is a pronunciation guide divided by sex in here. At the back, there's also a glossary. So excluding the glossary, which is extensive, by the way, and the author's notes and the pronunciation guide, First Man in Rome comes in at 978 pages. And I am slowly collecting the remaining 4 books in this series because I love her writing. There are also, let's see if I can find one really quickly, illustrations in this book. There's not a lot. There are more characters in the book. And of course I say that and I can't find one. That's a map. There's lots of maps in this book, which is good, which is why I'm not reading it electronically. Like there's a illustration. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. One I know I will start and finish this summer for sure is Pen Hollow by Georgette Heyer. I got this from my library for, I believe, 50 cents. This is a country house mystery, and like always, it does not mention where it is in the series, but this one was published originally in 1942, and in this bind up, it comes in at 514 pages. I love her writing in general, and the fact that this is a mystery and not necessarily a love story, I am all about. So, looking forward to this one immensely. Okay, the next 2 are on my personal I want to read those in 2025 challenge, which I will link down below. First up would be the Lady Brewer of London by Karen Brooks, and this is set in 1405. And it comes in at 8. No, those are acknowledgments and author's notes. 786 pages. And I love the cover. I love this cover. So much I love this cover. Okay. Also on the same video would be The Weight of Ink by Rachel Kadesh. This is a dual timeline historical Jewish fiction. And this was also a library find. And it comes in at 600 pages on the dot. I got this from my library for $1. It's in perfect condition, deckled edges. I have not read anything by this author, but it did win the National Jewish Book Award, so that's intriguing. Okay, hang on. I gotta get stuff off of my lap, or I won't have any room to talk about the rest of the books. Okay, and last up for historical fiction would be a recent Goodreads win. I've heard nothing about this author. I've heard nothing about this book. However, I'm so happy I won it. I so want to read it. That is Under the Wide and Starry Sky by Nancy Horan. And this is the story of Robert Louis Stevenson and Fanny Van de Grift Osborne. I am so interested in this book. Starts out in 1875, and it comes in at 466 pages. So, not that long. Probably close to my average length of reads, to be honest. And I'm so interested in this book. I'm going to break my rule and I'm going to read you the back of this one. Leaving her philandering husband in San Francisco, Fanny van de Grift Osborne set sail for Belgium, her 3 children in tow, to start a new life. Not long after her arrival, however, tragedy strikes, and Fanny and her children repair to a quiet artist colony in France, where she meets a lively Scot, Robert Louis Stevenson. 10 years her junior, Stevenson falls instantly in love with the earthy, independent, and opinionated Belle Americaine. In time, the two begin a fierce love affair, marked by intense joy and harrowing darkness that spans decades and the globe. The shared life of these two strong-willed individuals unfolds into an adventure as impassioned and unpredictable as any of Stevenson's own unforgettable tales. I have not even heard of this author, but this is her second book, and I believe it was published this year. I'm checking to see. And of course, they don't make it easy to do that. It was published in 2014. So in 2014, this was her second book. I need to know. This is one of those ones where I need to know. Okay, next up, last category. Okay, time for science fiction and fantasy. And in science fiction and fantasy, we will have the book I have read, and I think I'm probably recommending a lot moving forward for science fiction and fantasy, so stay tuned for that one. First up is a book I have not started. I own the complete trilogy. I need to read this. It's been sitting on my shelf for a couple of years now. It comes in at 527 pages. That is Ashes of the Sun by Django Wexler. This is secular fantasy. I've read the first chapter several years ago. No, maybe it was the introduction. I don't remember enough to say that I'm not going to reread it, but it's very high on my list. It's going to be a very quick read, unlike a lot of the other books on this list. And the font is big and, not densely packed. Another one I can promise I'm reading, and this is the third book in the series because that's where I am in the series. And this one comes in at 539 pages. That is Abaddon's Gate by James S.A. Corey. This is the third book in the Expanse trilogy. This is just pure space opera goodness. If you've seen the Amazon series, the books are better, unsurprisingly. And yes, there's a lot of swearing, but it is just good space opera joy. And sometimes a world, you just need to pick up a book you can lose yourself in, and this is one of those books. Okay, next up is the book I have read. That is An Anthem by Neil Stevenson. This comes in without the appendixes and the glossary at 932 pages. This is hard science fiction. And by I mean hard science fiction, I will link my review in the description box. The science in this book not just went over my head, it went into the stratosphere. I understood very little of the science in this book. However, the character work and the storytelling and the twists and the turns and the way the plot just builds and builds and builds, and then oh my stars, and then builds some more. I buddy read this with Chrissy over at Chrissy's Purple Library. It took us months, And I am so glad, A, that we buddy read it together, because I don't know that I would have made it past part 1 without a buddy read. And we were able to encourage each other and keep the story moving when one of us fell further behind than the other. And this book is, I need to read everything by this man. The writing was just exquisite, and the storytelling was exquisite, and his character work was masterful. So, yes. Okay, last up, and this is on my June pile of possibilities. That is Taliesin by Stephen R. Lawhead. This is Arthurian retelling. This one comes in at 541 pages. And it has been on my list for a while. I need to sit down and read it. Chrissy read this earlier this year, late last year. She loved it. She's moving on to book 2. She's ahead of me. And I need to know. I need to know before the Daily Wire series comes out. I need to know personally. It's Catholic fantasy. It's an Arthurian retelling. And I love this cover. So, easy read. Okay. That is just a brief glimpse into the big books sitting on my shelves. And I know myself well enough to know that I will not get through all of these in the next 3 months. But I will at least start most of them. I will finish some of them. And I love me a big book. Summer is the perfect time to just sit outside and immerse yourself in, history, fantasy world, all of it. Good beach read is usually 400 plus pages. So there's, we all have time. I will make my first audiobook video about the big books on some of the big books in my Audible library, and that will be out. I don't want to say the first week of June, but probably the second week of June. It's not going to take very long. And so, are you participating in Big Book Summer? Do you have a big book I should read? Is there something that just screams, Tammy, go pick this up? Let me know in the comments down below. Like and subscribe, and I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.